Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holst back again with another E-commerce Conversations. I hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the Internet from me, Jay. Welcome, man.
Hey, Eric. Great to be here. What's going on?
Living the dream, talking about e-commerce, having conversations with people who are in the e-commerce space, but nobody knows what you do. What do you do, man?
Yeah, so I'm a chief marketing officer at Winc. At Winc, we're building a portfolio of brands in the wine space focused on the next generation of consumers. And we sell direct to consumer as well as your local Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Target, or restaurant or bar. So as CMO, I run our direct-to-consumer business, our engineering and technology teams, marketing, as well as the omni-channel growth of our wine brands.
Dude, I cannot think. It's funny, like I say this question, probably our regular listeners are sick of hearing this, but I cannot think of a more challenging business to do. Like you're shipping water, like alcoholic water. It's regulated by the industry. There's got to be all sorts of like regulations of what wines you can ship to what people. Or do you guys go through this huge process to make sure every wine can ship to everyone? Tell me more about the logistics of this business.
It is a really difficult business. And I think you see that in the marketplace just generally. Some of the direct-to-consumer beverage alcohol businesses that we know and love no longer exist today. And part of the reason is the logistics and the compliance. The world of beverage alcohol is placed in this outdated prohibition era, 3-tier distribution system, set of rules and regulations that manage direct-to-consumer shipments, not only by the state, but potentially at the county and zip code level. So the level of operational complexity required to actually have a great product offering is really high. A couple of examples that I can give you is, some states, once you ship a certain amount of wine, you can no longer ship there.
Like for the year or for the month, for the week?
For forever, once you've hit a certain lifetime value. It is just so outdated. And then for other states, it really depends on where the wine was produced or where the wine was bottled. If you produce and bottle in the United States, you can ship to some states, but if you import it from other countries, you can't. So there's a really complex regulatory framework behind it, not only in terms of how we can ship, but also how we market. For example, we can say things like shipping included or $0 shipping, but we can't say the words free shipping in beverage alcohol marketing. So there are several nuances to some of the laws that are out there, which obviously makes it a very incredible business past just the unit economics, as you said, of either shipping wine or going through the 3-tier distribution model where you have multiple parties taking a cut.
I do not envy your ops and regulatory team at all.
They are fantastic. I don't have any envy them either.
I guess that gives you opportunity in the marketplace too, because most people aren't going to touch it. Do you guys have a lot of competition you're dealing with, or is it pretty limited?
Yeah, I think in the wine subscription space, there are a few players out there. I'd say the key differentiator, when people think about Winc as a consumer, they think of us in the comp space as some of the other wine subscriptions, but we really are focused on building brands, both through direct to consumer and wholesale. So, one set of competition is your digitally native subscriptions, which typically private label or source from third parties for their products. And then the other set is your beverage giants in the space, your Constellation brands, Gallo, Diageo, et cetera, which are tremendous at the traditional 3-tier distribution model, nationwide distribution, great products, great brands, but don't have the digital expertise that we do. So we kind of sit at the intersection of two of those types of companies, but really do think of ourselves closer to the Constellations and Gallos of the world, because ultimately our goal is to grow our brands regardless of the channel and really being channel agnostic.
So not only are you selling other people's wines, you're sourcing and packaging your own wine too.
We only sell our own products and brands. And, we have a team of incredible winemakers. We don't own vineyards and we don't own production facilities. We enter into grape contracts or we buy unfinished goods out on the market. Our winemaking team is completely responsible for the end-to-end process of getting that into a bottle. Our internal team is responsible for the brand as well. So everything we make is produced by Winc, although in an asset-light way.
That's pretty interesting. How are you guys developing brands then? How many brands are there? Is it just a single brand? I assume it's...
We have a few dozen brands on Winc.com, and this is really where having the direct-to-consumer channel as well as the wholesale channel is really beneficial. We have the ability to get products and brands out there quickly onto the Winc.com site where we have 100,000 plus members. We're able to gather data on what brands resonate with those members, which ones they're pulling off of our digital wine shelf, what products that are rating highly, what products they're reordering. And if we see good indication that either the brand is great, the product is great, or both together are great, that's then a brand that we're going to invest in more heavily and then distribute through the traditional distribution channel. And those are the brands, those big winners are the ones that you see in stores. Summer Water is our biggest rosé and one of the largest and fastest growing rosés in the nation. But that started direct to consumer. We got tremendous feedback from our customers and we decided to invest in that in our wholesale channel as well. So we really have the feedback loop going with our digital customers that allow us to make bigger and better bets in the wholesale channel.
Dude, I'm just salivating at the idea of A/B testing two different brands, the same product, and seeing what hits. Tell me you guys do that. Please say you do.
It's certainly been done. And I think not in the traditional A/B test type of way where you're putting the same product in two different brands at the same time. But what we will do is, we'll put a product out there. And if it doesn't pull through the digital shelf as quickly as we want it to, but the people who order it rate it well and they reorder it, we know that the product is great, but the brand could use some work. And so we'll then go through a rebranding process, which we recently did with one of our wines, and then put the rebranded wine up there and see how that does and compare it to the previous metrics. It's a little bit hard to put the same wine in two different brands because we do want to have a great product offering for our direct-to-consumer subscribers. We don't want them ordering two bottles and they end up being the same type of wine. Mm-hmm. So we do it in a little bit of a different way there. But that's how Summer Water really evolved as a product. 5 years ago, when we first put that on DTC, it's an incredible brand and it pulled through really well. But people did not like that rosé. And year after year, our team worked to improve the product. And year after year, we saw ratings, repeat purchase go up to the point in which we finally knew we had a winner. So that's kind of the way in which we go through our product iteration cycles. But having the data from the customers and being able to get a product out there quickly and understand within 30, 60 days whether or not it's going to be successful is a huge competitive advantage that we have digitally.
You guys have a pretty interesting subscription model as well, in the sense when I think most people think subscription, they're thinking, I sign up for the Wine of the Month Club and they send me a different wine of the month or something like that. Walk me through how you guys have tackled that issue.
Yes. So about 2 years ago, we transitioned to a credits-based model. So essentially the way the subscription works is we acquire users through a discounted first-time purchase. After that, they get 60 credits added to their account every single month. Those credits roll over, they never expire, and users can skip a month when they want to and not receive their credits. But essentially, they can go on Winc.com, browse our recommended wines based off of their prior ratings, as well as the palate profile quiz they take when they come in, or they can select their own, and they can order in whatever quantity they want. And the reason in which we do that is we previously actually did have the traditional, you get a box of 4 wines every month or every quarter type of model. But again, another beverage alcohol regulation is that you have to be home to sign for delivery. And a lot of the times people have flexible schedules. They travel, they might not be home for a certain day. And so with these automated shipments, we were getting a lot of delivery issues. And that's feedback that we got from our customers and switched into the credits-based model for that reason. Secondarily, thinking about what I just mentioned around getting the data from a digital wine shelf, if you're just shipping bottles out, you can't really see what's resonating with consumers on a digital wine shelf. But if they're coming to this site, engaging with all of our products and then selecting what they want, we're then able to collect that additional piece of data in terms of, what would actually pull through on a physical wine shelf and what has the best chance of success in wholesale as well.
The thing that I found entertaining, Jay and I were at a conference a couple of weeks ago and I listened to him talk, but he was talking about how people will inadvertently build up credits, right? Whether intentionally or not. And then you have an email flow encouraging people to buy things, but that has a nasty trade-off that people are like, oh, why am I using this? And you get higher cancellations rate. Walk me through kind of like, like the decision-making and the trade-offs that come along with that type of email communication.
Yeah, it's really nuanced. I mean, I think the ultimate goal is we want everybody who has credits to use those credits 100%, because if they're not using the product, they're not going to be a long-term user of Winc. And so the goal is monthly with merchandising to make sure that we're consistently communicating with them. And after a certain period of time, if they're not responsive to emails, we have a couple different options. Number one is we can introduce a large promotion, which is what I spoke about at the conference. And, that was really an AOV play. So it wasn't really a credit utilization play. It was a play to get average order value up. So we sent an email to all of our users who had a lot of built up credit saying, hey, you have a lot of credits. You should probably use them. And, while that led to lots of people placing large orders, it also led people to think, maybe I should cancel the subscription if I'm not using it. So I think it's important to communicate with those users, but communicate in a way that's merchandised and product forward and not necessarily, highlighting large discounts or highlighting lack of usage of the subscription. Another thing that we've done for people who don't engage with email with us anymore at all is direct mail saying, after a certain point of time, we really want them to use their credits and we want to make sure they know that they're available. So we'll try other channels like direct mail with our existing members to make sure that we can communicate with them that they have credits available. And then they can either use that or at a certain point request a refund if that's not what they want.
Yeah. So I would imagine with a credit system, you're never going to line up perfectly to zero. So
That's
to close
exactly
that
right.
out your account, let's say you have $5 left or $10 left, then they'll get a refund on that $10.
It depends on the amount and how long they've been with us and whether or not they received that charge on purpose or it's something that they didn't remember. But typically we'll either one, offer them, a final order, two, offer them to transition it to a gift card and gift it to somebody else, or three, do a total refund. One advantage for our members, especially those who want to close out their account because they're moving or they're traveling for a few months or whatever it may be, is that they can take their credits into a gift card and then go out and gift that to someone else, which we've definitely seen used a lot.
Yeah. Or I don't know how hard it is to just like even everything out. So like, oh, you got 15 credits left, get this one bottle for free and call it whole or whatnot. But
economics would be a little rough if we only shipped one bottle at a time. So we're going to try to get that up to at least 3 or 4 bottles.
So is that the goal? Talk about, 3 bottles, that's got to be how many pounds that you're shipping. Is the shipping that expensive for one compared to 3 on a per rate basis?
Yeah, it's definitely more efficient to ship as many bottles as possible, which is why, we offer a case incentive for people who buy 12 bottles. We give them 10% off because we're making that up in the shipping efficiency. So beverage alcohol is expensive to ship, not only because of the weight and the volume, but also the regulations and having to sign for delivery. And those types of deliveries, of course, cost more than your traditional delivery. So while we do offer 60 credits a month, and typically that'll translate to about 4 or 5 bottles, we definitely do everything we can to incentivize higher AOV purchases so that we can get that flexibility with our shipping rates.
Your company name is Winc, W-I-N-C. Was that always
Correct.
The name of the company?
No, it was called Club W in its inception. And I believe, before me, but around the 2016 timeframe, rebranded to Winc. That was around the same time that we also started shifting from getting third-party wines on the site and just being a distribution model to creating our own products and brands. So that was before my time at Winc, but about 6 years ago now.
Okay. I was just curious how much you guys paid for that.
I would
domain.
be curious as well. I would assume that 4-letter domains 6 years ago were expensive, but still cheaper than they would be today.
Yeah. I think I talked to someone who said they paid $100K for their 4-letter domain. I was like, that seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that seems fair. That seems fair.
Noah Kagan, who's with AppSumo, he spent, I think, $1 million for sumo.com, which is just,
wow. Well, that's a great domain, but I hope they have a lot of funding.
He had I think like part of it is he has to market that story for all of eternity, paying $1 million for a domain. I don't know if I could ever pull the trigger on that. Do you know like the brand strategy? Obviously it's wine without the little dash on the E. Is that the thought process behind the word?
Yeah, it's also a little playful, right? Like a lot of now I'll say this with the caveat of I was not there for the ideation and creation process of the name, but if you think about what we stand for in terms of the wine industry, historically being pretty pedantic, high barriers to entry, and we're really tailoring our products and our brand towards the next generation of consumers. So it's a little bit of a nod to the industry as well as something a little playful for our consumers because it's also a play on like a Winc, W-I-N-K.
Do you see that your consumers are going to be the next generation? They're younger in age, or are you kind of targeting, like I guess 25 to 45? Is that your sweet spot or?
Yeah, I'd say 25 to 45 is the sweet spot. I mean, most of the purchasing power in wine is, at that 45 plus range, but that's been shifting over the years. And, I believe it's within the next decade, the younger millennials and Gen Z will take up most of the purchasing power behind wine. I think another thing that you see is that the younger generations typically are crossing categories more than ever before. So it's not just, a Cabernet or a Chardonnay, which is what, our parents used to have. It's the right product with the right people on the right occasion. And it might be a rosé one day, or it might be a canned cocktail the next day, or a hard kombucha the day after that. So I think long term, our vision is definitely to be more than just a portfolio of wine. We want to cross category. We've launched hard ciders in the past. We've launched sake in the past, and we have some exciting product innovations in our roadmap in wine adjacent categories, as well as packaging innovation, right? The standard 750 milliliter glass bottle isn't the right packaging format for every occasion. A little hard to bring that to the beach or a park or a yacht party or something like that.
Well, I'll tell you, like just from my own personal experience, my wife and I, we can't finish a bottle. And so we subsequently don't open one up because we don't want to throw away half a bottle of wine. So we save it for an occasion. Of course, we're married with 2 kids and we never go out and never have any friend time. So our wine shelf is just overflowing right now with wine. So I think it's brilliant, like smaller containers or different packaging, new innovations in there.
Or types of packaging where even after opening, the wine is good for a longer period of time. I think one of the trends that you're starting to see in the industry is, I don't know if you remember, a lot of the viewers would remember bags of wine. Mm-hmm. And typically that's associated with very cheap wine in your college days. But I think over the last couple of years, we've started to see a premiumization of that category where people are coming out with these bag and box types of wines, 3 liters. But those wines stay fresher for longer in the refrigerator. And that's something that you could just have and kind of pour out when you want. And you don't really have to worry about it going bad. So I think packaging innovation the other way also may make sense as long as the shelf life is there, which with the traditional bottle is a little tough to get.
Yeah, there was a Shark Tank company, I think, that was pitching the whole bagged wine back in the day.
Yeah, there are a few out there now. And I think there was one of the early Shark Tank episodes was, I think, Copa di Vino.
Yeah,
was the smaller packaging with wine by the glass. I don't know if I quite see them around anymore, but that was certainly an interesting concept.
In my opinion, the media darlings of D2C was Drink House, Haus. And I think they're no more, right?
That's correct. I think I saw about a month or so ago that they ended up going out of business. But, was a brand that I respected and admired and a pretty solid product.
Yeah, I think it's like, a testament to the difficulties in this space. And I don't even know if theirs was alcoholic or if it was just like mixers or what are they called? Bitters?
Aperitifs. They had aperitifs.
Yeah, aperitifs.
Yeah, they were alcoholic. I actually know a few of their folks on the team and they're incredibly talented people. Yeah. And, it's just the nature of the category. And I think one thing we realized pretty early on is direct to consumer only beverage alcohol is really tough because 90+% of the revenue share is actually through grocery stores, through restaurants, through bars, and through clubs. So having a distribution footprint in the traditional 3-tier way is so important. It's something that we were really early on, and it's going to be about 50% of our business in the coming years. I don't think House had a really large wholesale footprint. And through iOS 14.5, through tightening of liquidity in the market, and through rising CPMs, like the trifecta of those forces definitely make it really difficult for direct consumer only.
Is there the same limitations to alcohol as there is like tobacco and adult, toys or sexual health kind of stuff?
I think there are some, there's definitely some similarities. For example, like these are all categories that can't advertise on new platforms like TikTok. I'm not 100% sure of what the crossover is, but there are definitely some similarities there. I would say that, for some of the reasons that you mentioned earlier, regulation, what makes beverage alcohol particularly difficult is regulation is just so archaic and it's not built for today's age, which makes some of the nuance of that regulation. It's a really high barrier to entry for a lot of folks. But yeah, I think there are a lot of the shared challenges across some of those other categories. And obviously another thing that you had mentioned is the shipping weight, shipping volume, and the cost of that obviously being another barrier to entry.
So how are you guys able to get in front of your intended audience? What's the best way for you guys?
Yeah, so we have a pretty traditional mix, and it's really threefold. It's Facebook, it's Google, and it's affiliates. Those have really been the three biggest channels for us. Our ability to scale up on Facebook through iOS 14.5, through rising CPMs, was only possible because of continuous improvements on creative and looking at the full funnel holistically. In June of last year, not only did we overhaul all of our creative to, where the market was going in terms of UGC, using content creators, getting hooks that really resonate with consumer outcomes, to redoing all of our landing pages in a way that had ad to page relevancy and really tying the story between the ads somebody clicked on and the experience on the landing page. And then finally, redoing our entire acquisition funnel to make it a little bit more suited for the next generation. Previously, we had a quiz where we asked you if you like your coffee black or with cream. And we asked you whether or not you like mushrooms, which are interesting questions to gauge your palate. But ultimately, a consumer has no idea how that's tying to their final recommendations. So we made some adjustments to our quiz to really tie that story of here's your input and here's how it led to your output. And that definitely helps. So really looking at the full funnel helped keep Facebook as a big part of our mix. Google is steady, doesn't scale too far up, doesn't scale too far down. But our large affiliate network and that program has definitely been huge for us. It accounts for a good portion of our user acquisition, and it's definitely a channel that we rely on. I'd also say previously, using pay per post influencers was incredibly successful for us. I think as you've seen a lot of the engagement shift from Instagram stories, which is where we used to heavily advertise, to TikTok, the effectiveness of those types of influencer partnerships has gone down and it is now a smaller part of our mix.
I want to touch base on a couple of things that you said there. First was the quiz. You talked about shifting it. So the old question was black coffee versus cream coffee, mushrooms or no mushrooms. What are the questions now that are more tailored towards the younger audience?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that I'll highlight is one, if you take our quiz on mobile, we have like a Tinder-like swiping mechanism for tasting notes. So we ask you what types of flavors you enjoy, and you can either swipe right or swipe left. And that correlates directly to the tasting notes in the wine that we recommend for you. So it's a one-to-one match there. Another thing that we do is we ask you about your lifestyle. We ask what types of foods you eat the most and that you enjoy the most. And we'll give you wines in your first box that pair well to those foods. So those are examples of how it's very clear how your input is leading to the output. And we actually say when we present kind of the first box recommendations, you said you like strawberries and lemon. So we gave you wines with those tasting notes. And we said that you like burgers and sushi. So we give you wines that pair well with burgers and sushi. So that's kind of what we've pivoted to. I'd say that a lot of the players out there still have kind of like this black curtain in between the questions and the output. And a lot of them, if you actually go through the quiz and you change the input, the recommended box is the exact same. So I think consumers are starting to see through that. And we really tried to make that one-to-one match and actually make it tailored to you.
Are you using out-of-the-box quiz software, or you guys developed that in-house?
Yeah, so both a blessing and a curse, but our entire technology stack was built in-house. Winc started, I guess, as Club W 11 years ago now. And the tools that we have today were not there 11 years ago. Shopify isn't what it was today. You didn't have quiz builders like Octane AI. And so it wasn't as easy to develop what we have. So we've been completely homegrown, which, today, I think if we had to start from scratch, we definitely go the Shopify route because that network is of apps and integrations and what it can do is incredible. But Winc is a completely homegrown system.
That's pretty cool. I like that idea. I wanted to steal it, but might be out of my budget.
It is a good idea. I mean, acquisition, I think we've started to see quizzes become a lot more popular recently. One, because the tech is more commercialized, and two, because they convert very well.
Yeah. We've leaned into quizzes for a long period of time, but the idea of like swiping left and right, kind of mobile first experience is not something we're currently doing. So well done on that. I think that's quite brilliant. The other thing I wanted to touch base on is the affiliate program. I really we're trying to build our affiliate program out currently. And I want, if you could kind of walk me through who's doing what, how do the flows work? How do the questions work? Do you have a prospecting team? Do you ship out samples? Like what kind of commissions are you paying if you're willing to say that or not, or any kind of software partnerships you guys are working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a little bit of context, also with the caveat of I am in no means our in-house affiliate expert. We also have, it's a lot easier to scale in the affiliate space. It's actually scale is exponential there. Once you have a lot of traffic, a lot of brand recognition, and an offering that's been validated with, millions of consumers at this point, it's a lot easier to get publishers to write about you, include you in gift guides, include you in top 10 lists, which is where a lot of our new customer acquisition comes through. So it's certainly very exponential. And being in the space for 11 years and being as large as we are has definitely helped us really scale our affiliate program. We used to have a full-time affiliate hire in-house. Now it's that same person freelancing for us for about 10 hours a week. He's able to run the entire program. He has all of our relationships on lock. We continuously have new offers that we roll out to our affiliate partners based off of holidays and seasons. We want to talk a lot about the new wines that we release to give new angles for our affiliate partners.
Is that done through one-to-one relationships, like picking up the phone and chatting with them? Or do you have an email flow set up for your affiliates? How many affiliates do y'all have?
We use the Impact Radius network. It's hundreds of affiliate partners through that network. Yeah.
And then, so that communication goes through that network?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And I would say that the commissions that we offer there are not on a percentage basis, they're on a CPA basis because we have, our first order is typically smaller in AOV because it is discounted. So we do it on a CPA basis. And the way in which we evaluate our commissions is just a CAC to LTV ratio of that particular channel. A lot of the affiliate mix, and this is something you have to be really careful on, is based off of deal sites. And people who come in through deal sites are typically lower intent, right? They want the cash back plus the first time offer and they want to cancel. So the commissions that we give out on the affiliate program are based on publisher, what they're writing about us, what type of publisher it is, and ultimately the LTV of customers that they bring in.
Yeah. I mean, deal sites are essentially people who have already committed to buying from you and then they Google coupon code. And then I don't think those deal sites they're not driving any business. They're just taking money from you.
You have to be really careful on the type of deal site that you're working with and what the incrementality of that deal site is, because you have the honeys of the world, which is absolute highway robbery. And our commissions there are very low to none. But you also have some that do deliver some type of incrementality. If you look at, the offers in your Amex credit cards, maybe you're in the consideration phase of a purchase and then you see the offer and then you ultimately convert. So you can run incrementality tests depending on the partner to understand what's your incremental CPA and then base your commission off of that.
Are you doing that? I've never done any kind of data analysis like that.
Yeah, I think depending on the provider, you can either do a holdout test and kind of do it on your own, right? Like run it for a couple of months and then don't run it for a couple of months, then look at the difference in your new customer acquisition. Of course, this has to be a larger player in the space for you to actually see a statistically significant difference.
Right. Like what kind of volume do you have to have? Like thousands of customers or?
It just depends on what percentage of your total volume that particular publisher contributes, right? If it's 1% of your total activation volume, you're not going to see any statistically significant results by running a holdout test at all, right? So it really just depends on the proportion relative to your total volume, less so the size of the business. Some partners do offer actual incrementality measurement and tests. That's something that we do with Amex. There's another provider in the credit card space called Cardlytics that I believe we've run incrementality tests with. So some partners do offer that because they know a lot of brands are looking for that understanding of incrementality.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Where can people buy your product? Where can they support you, learn from you?
Yeah, so you can buy our product at winc.com, winc.com. You can also buy Summer Water at a store near you or at summerwater.com. And if people are interested in joining my dozens of Twitter followers and want to see me tweet once every 3 months, at Dolwani on Twitter.
And how do you spell your name? Nobody's going to know how to spell your name.
Yeah, it's Jai and Dolwani.
Sweet, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Very enjoyable. You blow my mind with what you're doing. And of course, your company, what you're doing and being able to do it in a profitable, scalable, sustainable way is quite impressive as well. So
thank you, Eric. It was great being here and I appreciate you having me on.
All right, guys, this has been another e-commerce Conversations. Cheers and keep on growing.